The sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting warm light across the table. I stood there, preparing breakfast, as I always did. But today felt different. The usual rhythm of eggs sizzling in the pan and the smell of fresh coffee brewing only served to remind me of the monotony that had taken over my life on the farm. I glanced out the window, watching the fields stretch endlessly, and wondered if this was all there was. Did I really want to wake up to the same view and the same routine every day? Ethan was already out in the barn, lost in his work. I could hear the faint sounds of him moving about, but the distance between us felt larger than the farm itself. As I poured the coffee, I felt an overwhelming sense of isolation wash over me. It was strange how silence could feel so loud when you were surrounded by someone you once felt so close to. Did he even notice me anymore? Just then, the front door creaked open, and in walked Sarah, the new caretaker. Her carefree attitude filled the room like a breath of fresh air. I looked up, caught off guard by her captivating smile. "Good morning," she chirped, her eyes sparkling with energy. I felt a flicker of curiosity ignite within me. Who was this girl who could light up the dullness of my mornings? "Morning," I replied, trying to muster a smile. "You're here early." "I like to get a head start," she said, bouncing over to the counter. "What are you making? It smells amazing." "Just the usual, eggs and coffee," I said, but her presence made the mundane feel special. She leaned closer, peering at the pan. "You should try adding some herbs. It makes everything taste better." "Herbs, huh?" I mused, intrigued. I guess I never thought of that. As we chatted, I found myself drawn in by her warmth. Our conversations flowed easily, filled with laughter and subtle glances that hinted at something deeper. I could feel a connection forming, an unspoken bond that neither of us dared to name. Was I really allowing myself to feel this way? Could I be looking for something beyond the routine? "Do you ever wonder what else is out there?" Sarah asked, her gaze drifting toward the window. "I mean, out there in the world beyond this farm?" Her question hung in the air, and I felt a pang of longing. "Sometimes," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's easy to forget there's a whole life waiting outside these fields." "Maybe we should explore it," she suggested with a playful grin. "You know, find some adventure." "Adventure?" I echoed, a mix of excitement and fear swelling within me. What would that even look like? My heart raced at the thought of stepping outside my comfort zone, of breaking free from the chains of my routine. She caught my eye, and for a moment, the world around us faded. The kitchen felt alive, charged with possibility. What if I allowed myself to feel something different, something exciting? The thought both thrilled and terrified me. "I'm not sure I'm ready for that," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "Ready or not, sometimes life just happens," Sarah replied, her smile unwavering. "You never know what you might find if you take a chance." As she spoke, I felt the weight of my isolation begin to lift. With each shared glance and every laugh, I could sense the walls around my heart cracking just a little. Was this the spark I had been longing for? Or was it simply a distraction from the emptiness I felt? I looked at her, wondering if she could see the turmoil brewing inside me. "Do you think it's possible to feel so alone, even when you're surrounded by people?" Her expression softened, and she nodded slowly. "I think it is, but it doesn't have to stay that way." In that moment, I realized there was something more building between us, something I could no longer ignore. As the sun continued to shine, I felt a flicker of hope. But with that hope came questions. What would happen next? Could I really open myself up to this new connection, knowing the risks involved? Would this be the adventure I had been searching for? Or would it lead to something I couldn't control? I found myself looking for Sarah more often. Every time I saw her, my heart raced a little faster. Our conversations became more intimate, filled with unspoken words that hung in the air between us like a thick fog. I noticed how her laughter danced like a melody around me, breaking the silence of my daily life. "Do you ever feel like there's more out there?" I asked one afternoon as we sat on the porch, the sun casting a warm glow around us. She looked at me, her eyes sparkling. "All the time," she replied. "Sometimes, I think about all the places I could go, all the adventures waiting for me." I felt a pang of longing. I remembered a time when I felt alive and loved, embraced by the thrill of new experiences. I thought back to my early days with Ethan. We used to dream together, exploring the world in our minds. But now, the weight of routine wrapped around me like a heavy blanket, and my heart felt stuck, yearning for something more. As the days went by, the tension between Sarah and me grew stronger. One evening, as the sky blushed with the colors of sunset, we found ourselves alone in the barn. The air was still, and the world outside faded away. Sarah leaned against a wooden post, her gaze fixed on me. "You know, I never expected to feel this way," she said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. I stepped closer, my heart pounding in my chest. "What do you mean?" She took a deep breath, her eyes searching mine. "I feel this connection between us. It's different." I couldn't deny it. The spark was undeniable, and it scared me. "But what about Ethan?" I asked, the reality of my life creeping back in. She shrugged, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. "What about him? He's not here right now, is he? It's just us." In that moment, the world outside the barn disappeared. I was filled with a rush of emotions, fear, excitement, and a deep desire that I had buried for so long. I stepped closer, our faces inches apart, the tension palpable. "Sarah," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I shouldn't be feeling this way. It's wrong." "But doesn't it feel right?" she challenged gently, her eyes locked onto mine, drawing me in. I hesitated. My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, memories of my life with Ethan flashing before me. But the way Sarah looked at me made me forget everything else. I felt drawn to her, as if an invisible force was pulling us closer together. Just then, she reached out and touched my arm lightly. The simple gesture sent shivers down my spine. I could feel the electricity in the air, and a part of me wanted to give in, to forget my fears and embrace this new feeling. In this moment, we could be free, she said softly, her voice a soothing balm to my troubled heart. I looked deeply into her eyes, searching for answers. The silence stretched between us, thick with anticipation. I could feel the weight of my choices resting heavily on my shoulders. And then it happened. Our gazes held, and time seemed to freeze. I leaned in slightly, feeling the magnetic pull between us. I could sense the unspoken words hanging in the air, words that could change everything. Just as I was about to say something, anything, a voice broke the spell. It was Ethan, calling from outside. "Hey, are you two in there?" My heart sank. The moment shattered like glass, and reality came crashing back. I stepped away from Sarah, my breath quickening. "Yeah, we're here!" I shouted, my voice trembling. Sarah looked at me, her expression a mix of disappointment and understanding. We both knew the moment had passed, but the electricity between us lingered, leaving a promise of something more. As Ethan entered the barn, I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I forced a smile, but inside, I felt like I was standing on the edge of a precipice, teetering between love and betrayal. The weight of what had almost happened hung heavily in the air, and I knew that things could never be the same again. The storm raged outside, its heavy rain pounding on the barn roof like 1,000 restless hearts. I stood there, surrounded by the smell of hay and the dim light of a single lantern. My heart raced, and every shadow seemed to whisper secrets I was not ready to face. Sarah was with me, her presence both comforting and electrifying. The tension between us had been building, and I knew tonight was different. "Do you ever feel like we are stuck in a moment that could change everything?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She looked at me, her eyes searching mine for an answer. I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "Every day. It's like I'm trapped in a life I didn't choose." "Maybe we can choose differently," she said, stepping closer. The warmth of her body broke through the chill of the night, and I felt drawn to her in a way I had never experienced before. In that moment, the storm outside faded into the background. The air between us thickened with unspoken desires. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, louder than the thunder. I reached out, my hand brushing against hers, and I could see the spark ignite in her eyes. "Sarah?" I started, but the words escaped me. I was scared of what I was feeling, scared of what it meant. Before I could think, she leaned in, and our lips met. It was a kiss filled with all the emotions I had kept buried, longing, fear, and a reckless abandon I had never allowed myself to feel. In that moment, everything else fell away. I was no longer a wife trapped in a monotonous life. I was simply a woman caught in a whirlwind of passion. As we pulled away, reality crashed back in. My heart raced, but guilt washed over me like cold water. What had I just done? "We shouldn't have," I said, my voice shaky. Ethan isn't here," Sarah replied, her eyes fierce. "He doesn't see you, not like I do." Her words lingered in the air, and I felt a rush of exhilaration mixed with dread. "But this is wrong," I said, taking a step back. "I made a promise to him." "And what about your promise to yourself?" she challenged, stepping closer again. "You deserve to feel alive. Don't you want to feel something more than this?" I looked away, torn. Part of me wanted to surrender to the moment, to forget about the life I had built. But another part of me screamed in protest, reminding me of my commitment to Ethan and the love I once felt. "I don't know what I want," I finally admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I feel so lost." "Maybe we can find our way together," Sarah said softly, her hand reaching for mine. I felt the warmth of her skin against mine, a spark igniting my senses. Just then, a loud crash of thunder shook the barn, and I jumped back, fear clawing at my insides. "We should go back inside," I said, glancing at the door. The storm outside was relentless. "Are you really going to walk away from this?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with urgency. What we just shared, it meant something. I felt my heart pounding. It meant everything, and that's what scares me, I said, my voice trembling. I can't betray Ethan. I can't. Sarah stepped closer, her expression softening. You have to be honest with yourself. You can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. The weight of my choices started to sink in. I could feel the rush of excitement still coursing through me, but the guilt was suffocating. I wanted to reach out to her again, to bridge the gap between us, but I hesitated. I need time to think, I finally said, backing away slowly. This is too much. As I turned to leave, I felt a part of me breaking. I closed the door behind me, the sound echoing in the empty barn. The storm raged on outside, matching the chaos inside my heart. I had crossed a line, and now I had to confront the reality of my actions. As the days went on, my bond with Sarah deepened. Each moment we shared felt charged with a mix of excitement and fear. I often found myself lost in thought, replaying our last encounter in the barn. The thrill of that kiss lingered like a sweet ache, but guilt began to weigh heavily on my heart. I stood at the kitchen counter one afternoon, chopping vegetables for dinner. My mind drifted back to the promises I made to Ethan when we got married. We were supposed to be partners, facing the world together. Yet here I was, caught in a web of my own making. I dropped the knife, the sound echoing in the quiet kitchen. "Are you okay?" Ethan asked, stepping in from outside, wiping his hands on a rag. He looked concerned, and I hated that I was the reason for his worry. "Yeah, just thinking," I replied, forcing a smile. The last thing I wanted was for him to sense the storm brewing inside me. "Thinking about the farm? I know we have a lot to do before winter," he said, trying to lighten the mood. But the weight of my choices pressed down harder. "Something like that," I said, not meeting his gaze. I felt a twinge of guilt as I thought about how much effort Ethan put into everything. Later that evening, as we sat down for dinner, I could feel Ethan watching me. The silence between us was thick, filled with unspoken words. I pushed my food around on my plate, avoiding his eyes. "Is there something you want to talk about?" Ethan finally asked, breaking the silence. His voice was calm, but I could sense the tension behind it. I hesitated, the truth teetering on the edge of my tongue. I've been feeling different lately," I admitted, my heart racing. "Different how?" he pressed, his brow furrowed with concern. I opened my mouth to respond, but the words caught in my throat. How could I explain the feelings for Sarah? How could I confess that I'd crossed a line? "Just tired, I guess," I said instead, a weak excuse. Ethan nodded, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. I could see the flicker of worry in his eyes. "If something is bothering you, you can tell me," he said softly. "I want to help." His sincerity hit me like a wave. I wanted to tell him everything. I wanted to be honest. But what would that mean for us? Would it destroy everything we built together? "I appreciate that," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "I just need some time." As I lay in bed that night, the weight of my decisions crushed me further. I stared at the ceiling, feeling as though I was living a lie. I could see Sarah's face in my mind, the way her eyes sparkled when she laughed, how her touch sent shivers down my spine. But I also saw Ethan, his kindness and dedication. I was torn between two worlds. The next day, Sarah and I met in the barn again. The air was thick with tension, but there was also a sense of comfort in her presence. "Hey," she said softly, her smile lighting up the dim space. "Hey," I replied, feeling a rush of warmth. "Everything okay?" she asked, her gaze searching mine. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "I don't know, Sarah. I feel like I'm losing control." Her expression softened. "You know I'm here for you, right? Whatever you decide, I support you." "I appreciate that, but it's complicated," I said, my voice heavy with conflict. "Ethan deserves better than this." Sarah stepped closer, her hand brushing against mine. "But what about you? What do you want?" A lump formed in my throat. I wanted to scream, to cry, to confess everything. But the fear of what that would mean held me back. "I just don't know," I admitted, tears welling in my eyes. "I feel trapped." The silence stretched between us, the weight of our choices pressing down. I was left with a haunting question. Should I confess my infidelity to Ethan, or continue to hide it, knowing that the truth could shatter everything? The choice felt impossible. The air felt heavy as I stood in the middle of the living room, my heart pounding like a drum. I knew it was time. I had to confront Ethan and Sarah about everything. The guilt had become a weight that I could no longer carry alone. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself, but the knot in my stomach only tightened. "Ethan," I called out, my voice shaky. He was in the kitchen, cleaning up after breakfast. I could see him from where I stood, his back turned to me, focused on the dishes. I stepped forward, my feet feeling like lead as I approached him. "What's up, babe?" he asked, without turning around. His casual tone made my heart sink even further. How could I drop this bomb on him when he seemed so unaware of the storm brewing inside me? "Can we talk?" My voice was barely above a whisper. He turned around, a puzzled look on his face. "Sure, what's on your mind?" Ethan wiped his hands on a dish towel and leaned against the counter, his stance relaxed. I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts, but I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to jump into the unknown. "It's about Sarah," I said, forcing the words out. His expression shifted, the easy smile fading as he straightened up. "What about her?" he asked, his voice now serious. I could see the concern in his eyes. I can't keep this to myself anymore. I've been seeing her, and it's not just as friends." The words spilled out like a broken dam, and I watched as Ethan's face went pale. "What do you mean?" he stammered, his voice barely concealing the hurt. "Are you saying you've been cheating on me?" "Yes," I confessed, my heart racing. "I kissed her. I let it go too far." The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan's gaze dropped to the floor, and I could see the storm brewing in his eyes. "How could you do this to me?" he whispered, the pain evident in his voice. "After everything we've been through?" I felt my heart break at his words, but I knew I couldn't take it back. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened." I tried to reach out to him, but he stepped back, putting distance between us. "Just happened. That's not an excuse," he shouted, his voice echoing in the small room. "You let it happen. You chose her over me." "I didn't choose her. I was confused. I thought I could handle it, but I can't." Tears began to stream down my face, and I felt utterly lost. "I love you, Ethan, but I also have feelings for her." Ethan shook his head, stepping away from the counter. "You don't get to say that right now. You've betrayed my trust." In that moment, I felt a presence behind me. Sarah stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with shock as she took in the scene. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Stay out of this, Sarah," Ethan snapped, his anger shifting to her. "This is between me and her." "Ethan, please," I pleaded, turning to Sarah. "I need your support. We need to talk about this together." Sarah looked between us, her expression shifting from confusion to concern. "I never wanted to come between you two. This is all my fault." "No, it's not," I interrupted, feeling a surge of protectiveness toward her. "This was my choice. I need to own up to what I've done." Ethan took a deep breath, his face a mask of pain and betrayal. "I can't believe this is happening. I thought we had something real. I thought I could trust you." "I never wanted to hurt you," I said, my voice breaking. "But I have to be honest about my feelings." With a heavy heart, I watched as Ethan's face hardened. "I need some time to think. I can't do this right now." He turned and walked out of the room, leaving me standing there, heartbroken. I felt Sarah move closer to me, her hand brushing against my arm. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice filled with empathy. "I never wanted this to happen." "I know," I replied, feeling the weight of everything crashing down around us. The room felt empty, and the future ahead looked uncertain. I had opened the floodgates, and now I had to face the consequences of my choices. After the confrontation, I sat on the porch, staring out at the fields. The wind felt different now, carrying a weight I couldn't shake off. I thought about Ethan, about Sarah, and most of all, about myself. I needed to find clarity. How did I let it come to this? I whispered to the empty air, hoping the universe might answer. The sun was setting, casting long shadows that danced across the ground. I picked up a cup of lukewarm coffee, the taste reminding me of the moments spent with Ethan, sitting together, talking about everything and nothing at all. Those days felt like a lifetime ago. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The memories flooded my mind. Ethan's laugh, the way he would tease me when I cooked too much for dinner, and the warmth of his arms around me. I couldn't ignore the love I once felt, but now it felt buried under layers of guilt and regret. Do you really love him? I asked myself, though I knew the answer was complicated. Or are you just trying to remember what love feels like? As I pondered my feelings, I heard footsteps approach. I turned to see Sarah walking toward me, her expression a mix of concern and uncertainty. "Hey," she said softly, her voice barely rising above the evening breeze. "You okay?" I forced a smile, but it felt strained. "Just thinking." "About Ethan?" she asked, her gaze drifting to the horizon. I nodded, feeling the weight of her question settle between us. "You should talk to him, you know," she suggested gently. "It might help." "Talk?" The word felt heavy on my tongue. What do I even say? Sorry for everything? It won't change what happened. Sarah stepped closer, her eyes searching mine. "But it's a step. You have to try. He deserves to know where you stand." I looked away, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. "And what about us? Is this even worth it if I try to fix things with him?" Sarah sighed, the tension palpable. "I don't want to be the reason you lose Ethan. This is about you and your happiness, not just about us." Her words hung in the air, and I realized how true they were. I had to figure out what I truly wanted. Taking a deep breath, I decided I needed to reach out to Ethan. It was time to face the music. "You're right," I finally said. "I need to talk to him." Sarah's expression softened. "I'll support whatever you choose. Just know, it's okay to feel lost. You're not alone." As she turned to leave, I felt a twinge of sadness. I didn't want to lose this connection, yet I knew I had to confront my past first. The next day, I found myself standing outside our home, my heart racing. I knocked softly on the door, unsure of what to expect. After a moment, Ethan opened it, his eyes widening in surprise. "Hey," I said, my voice shaky. "Can we talk?" He stepped aside, allowing me to enter. The silence felt thick, almost suffocating. "What do you want to say?" he asked, his tone guarded. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," I started, trying to find the right words. "About us, about everything that happened." Ethan crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. "I don't know if there's much left to say." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of my confession. "I messed up, Ethan. I hurt you. And I'm so sorry for that. I never wanted to betray your trust." He looked at me, his jaw clenched. "Then why did you? Why did you let it get this far?" "I don't know," I admitted, tears welling up in my eyes. "I was lost. I thought I could find happiness again, but I only found pain." The silence stretched between us, but I could see the walls around him beginning to crack. "I loved you," he finally said, his voice low. "I still do, but I can't pretend this didn't happen." "I understand," I replied, my heart aching. "But I want to try. I want to understand what went wrong between us." Ethan looked away, pondering my words. I held my breath, hoping he would let me in. "I don't know if I can forgive you yet," he said slowly, "but I'm willing to talk about it." A flicker of hope ignited within me. "That's all I ask. We can take it one step at a time." As I stepped closer, I felt the possibility of healing begin to take root. Love was complicated, but I knew this journey was worth the effort. I was ready to embrace the complexities ahead, even if the path was filled with challenges. Together, we could find our way back to each other, or perhaps forge a new beginning altogether. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when an unexpected visit changed your life, and subscribe for more captivating stories like this one.